A Bugatti Chiron Per Sport, one of only 60 ever built, was declared a total loss by a technician Bugatti flew in from France specifically to say so. The VIN was locked. No authorized dealer on earth would sell parts for it. The CEO of Bugatti himself recorded a public video explaining why an independent repair simply could not be done safely. And then Matt Armstrong split the car in half using a support rig built from a standard workshop lift and the rolling base of a bin. That is where this story is right now. Not in theory, in reality. The car has been started. The gearbox is selecting gears. And the conversation that began as a debate about whether Matt should even attempt this has quietly become something else entirely. The car at the center of all of this belongs to Alex Gonzalez, a Miami-based content creator who crashed his own Bugatti Chiron Per Sport during a stunt. What followed was a standard insurance process with a deeply non-standard outcome. The insurer wrote the car off and paid Alex out. The Chiron then landed on Copart, the salvage auction platform where totaled vehicles go to be picked over. Alex bought it back himself for around $1.9 million, a steep discount from the $4 million these cars typically command when they are intact and road legal. That gap between what he paid and what the car is worth in one piece is essentially what the entire rebuild is about. If Matt Armstrong can return this Chiron to a functioning, road-legal state, the financial logic of the project holds. If he cannot, Alex has spent nearly $2 million on a very expensive sculpture. The damage was serious from the start. The front end had taken the full force of the crash, deployed airbags, destroyed headlights, cracked carbon fiber panels, and heavily compromised front structure. Bugatti flew a technician from their headquarters in Molsheim, France, to inspect the car in person. That technician declared it a total loss. The factory restoration estimate Bugatti subsequently quoted came in at approximately $1.7 million in parts alone, before a single hour of labor was factored in. Alex declined, partly on cost grounds, and partly, as he later explained, out of concern that once the car was inside Bugatti's facility in France, the bill would keep climbing and the car might never come back. So he called Matt Armstrong instead. That decision set off a chain of events that pulled in the CEO of one of the most exclusive car companies on the planet, generated tens of millions of views across multiple episodes, and turned a salvage auction purchase into the most scrutinized independent hypercar rebuild in the history of automotive YouTube. What elevated this story from an interesting rebuild project into something genuinely unprecedented was a single corporate decision. After Alex bought the car back and his intention to rebuild it independently became clear, Bugatti locked the car's VIN. In practical terms, that meant no authorized Bugatti dealer anywhere in the world would sell replacement parts for this specific vehicle. Not headlights, not trim, not mechanical components, nothing. It was a move that immediately reframed the rebuild, from a technical challenge into something with a much sharper edge. Matt and Alex were no longer just dealing with a complicated car. They were dealing with a manufacturer that had actively made the job harder from the outside. And that corporate decision had an unintended consequence that Bugatti's communications team almost certainly did not anticipate. It made the story infinitely more compelling to watch. Then Bugatti's CEO, Mate Rimac, stepped in directly. He posted a public video on Instagram addressing the situation. The tone was careful, respectful toward Matt as a creator, but firm on the substance. Rimac explained that the Chiron Per Sport was not just complicated in the way any modern performance car is complicated. The crash had shattered the gearbox housing and caused structural damage to the carbon fiber monocoque, the single-piece tub that forms the structural spine of the entire car. These were not panel repairs or cosmetic fixes. He raised genuine safety concerns about the consequences of structural repairs falling short of factory standards on a car capable of over 200 miles per hour. He also addressed the parts situation directly, noting that some of the figures being quoted online were inaccurate, and made clear that the car was welcome at the Molsheim factory if Alex changed his mind. Matt's response came quickly. He acknowledged that having the CEO of Bugatti respond to his videos was, in his own words, completely mental. But his position was equally clear. He was not looking for a fight with Bugatti. He was looking for parts at a price that did not make the project financially absurd. And he was not prepared to send the car to France, because Alex was not prepared to send it to France. The rebuild would continue, with or without official support. Here is the detail that traveled furthest on social media, and that probably best captures what this rebuild has come to represent. When the time came to separate the front carbon tub from the rear drivetrain section of the Chiron, a procedure Rimac had said required specialized equipment available at only 2 facilities in the entire world. Matt Armstrong and his father built a support rig from a standard 2-post workshop lift and the rolling base of a workshop bin. Scrap materials. Things that were already lying around the garage. It worked. The front and rear halves of the Bugatti Chiron Per Sport separated cleanly. The reason this moment landed so hard was not just that it challenged Bugatti's claim about proprietary equipment. It was the visual of it. A multi-million-dollar hypercar resting on improvised supports, being gently coaxed apart by a British YouTuber and his dad. And it proved the point Matt had been making quietly throughout. Someone built this car, which means someone else can take it apart. What the split revealed was both better and worse than expected. The crash had pushed the engine forward with enough force to crush a coolant pipe and leave pressure marks in places where you really do not want to see pressure marks on a $4 million machine. The gearbox housing was damaged. The cast aluminum engine and gearbox mounting support, the structural component responsible for locating the entire drivetrain within the car, had broken on both sides. The better news was that the main engine block itself appeared to have survived without catastrophic damage. That single fact changed the entire complexion of the project. A destroyed Bugatti engine does not get repaired in a workshop. It ends a rebuild series in the most expensive way imaginable. The engine being intact meant there was still a path forward. With no replacement part available and Bugatti not selling anything to this project, the broken cast aluminum mounting support went to a specialist Matt referred to simply as Bob, a machinist who had worked on previous Armstrong builds and had never, by Matt's account, let the team down. The first question Bob had to answer was not how to fix the part. It was whether the part could be fixed at all. Cast aluminum is not always weldable. The alloy composition matters enormously, and if the magnesium content is too high, a TIG weld simply will not hold. It was a genuine unknown, and the episode covering this moment was honest about that uncertainty in a way that made it genuinely tense to watch. Bob checked the material, confirmed it was weldable, and got to work. The weld held. More than that, the repair was reinforced beyond the original specification, with additional material laid in around the weakest areas. Matt raised a point here worth sitting with. There is a real engineering argument that Bugatti designed this mount as the deliberate weak point in the drivetrain, a component engineered to fail first in a crash, absorbing energy and directing force away from more expensive and less replaceable parts. If that is true, making the mount stronger than original might shift where a future impact causes damage. Matt acknowledged this openly, without pretending he had a factory-level answer. He was making a judgment call in the absence of technical documentation that only Bugatti holds, and he said so. One more detail emerged during this phase that delighted the internet and slightly undermined the mythology around Bugatti's engineering exclusivity. The starter motor on the Chiron Per Sport shares a part number with a Volkswagen Group application, specifically a 1.9 TDI diesel unit. A $4 million hypercar, the same starter motor as a family hatchback. Volkswagen's ownership of Bugatti has always been an open secret, but seeing it expressed in a single shareable part number gave the internet something concrete to point at. With the repaired mount reinstalled, the front and rear halves rejoined by 14 titanium bolts, and a custom exhaust system fitted by Valvetronic while the rear was still apart, Matt and Alex turned the key. The Bugatti started, first attempt, on a car that had been declared a total loss, split in half in a workshop, had its structural engine mount welded back together without factory data, and reassembled without any official support from the manufacturer that built it. Moments into the celebration, fuel began dripping from underneath the car. A fuel line had come loose during reassembly, irritating rather than catastrophic. The team sorted it, restarted the car, and got the answer to the next question on the list. The Chiron selected a gear. The engine and gearbox were communicating with each other as a functioning drivetrain for the first time since the crash. It was also around this point that Bugatti's position began to shift. after Alex publicly threatened to manufacture replacement components using 3D printing technology, partly a negotiating tactic, partly a genuine expression of frustration, Rimac reached out directly. The parts blacklist was lifted. Bugatti reduced their repair estimates from the original figures. The relationship between the workshop in Miami and the factory in Molsheim moved from outright opposition to something closer to a cautious, arm's-length acknowledgement that the project was happening and was not going away. Starting is not finishing. Matt has been clear about this himself, and the list of remaining work is long. The cooling system is the most immediate concern. The Chiron was driven without coolant at some point before Matt got involved, not briefly, but for a meaningful distance. A car idling in a workshop for 2 minutes is not a reliable indicator of cooling system health. The full picture of what that did to the cooling circuit will not emerge until the car is brought up to proper operating temperature under real load. The water pump seals are a specific unknown. If they were compromised during the period the car ran dry, the symptoms may not surface until the engine is working hard. That is not the kind of problem that announces itself conveniently. The front of the car also still carries unresolved structural and body damage from the original impact. The rear may be alive. The engine may be running. But until the front-end work is complete, the Chiron is not going anywhere on a public road. With the VIN blacklist now lifted, official Bugatti components are at least an option again, but the carbon fiber elements represent a category of repair that cannot be improvised. Carbon fiber either has its structural integrity or it does not, and assessing that properly requires equipment and expertise beyond a standard workshop. Beyond the physical repairs, there is the deeper question of long-term function. Getting a car started is one milestone. Getting it to drive cleanly, hold operating temperature, manage boost correctly, shift through all gears without fault codes, and behave the way a Chiron per Sport is supposed to behave, that is the real test. What makes this project genuinely significant, beyond the spectacle of it, is what it represents for the relationship between independent builders and car manufacturers. Bugatti started this saga with a locked VIN, a statement from its CEO, and the full institutional weight of one of the most exclusive automotive brands in history. Matt Armstrong started it with a workshop, a team of people who solve problems without a manual, and several million subscribers watching every move. By the time the car first started, Bugatti had lifted the blacklist, softened their estimates, and the CEO had moved from a firm public no to something considerably more open. That shift did not happen because Bugatti changed its principles. It happened because a watching audience, a determined builder, and a car that refused to stay dead created a situation the manufacturer could no longer ignore from a distance. Whether this Chiron eventually passes a road test and gets driven properly remains an open question. But the question the automotive world was asking at the very beginning, can Matt Armstrong actually do this? Has already been answered in ways that nobody at Bugatti headquarters in Molsheim would have predicted when they flew a technician to Miami to declare that car a total loss.